If you're seeing this, it's not random. Listen until the end, chosen one.
Chosen one, pause for a moment. I have an important and urgent message to share, and this message is not for everyone. If you are not walking the divine path of God, if your heart is closed to truth, you should not continue watching. But if you are a true follower of God, if you have felt the calling on your life, then you are exactly where you are supposed to be. This message reached you at the perfect time, not by accident, but by divine alignment. God allowed this message to find you because you are ready for it now. Jesus taught the chosen ones to see beyond appearances, to perceive what hides in plain sight. What you call discernment today is something he trained you to use with your spiritual eyes and your mind. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share will bring clarity, calm your mind, and restore your authority in ways you didn't even realize you had lost. Before we continue, chosen ones, give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need this truth. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned with your divine mission and ready to receive what God is revealing now. Who the chosen ones really are in the eyes of Jesus. Chosen one, let me speak to you plainly now. Not emotionally, not dramatically, but truthfully, the way a teacher speaks when he knows the student is finally ready to understand. Being chosen was never about feeling special. It was never about being superior. Jesus never chose people to inflate their ego. He chose them because they could carry weight without breaking. When Jesus looked at people, he didn't see what the world sees. He didn't see status, titles, or appearances. He saw capacity. He saw who could hold truth without twisting it, who could walk with awareness without becoming arrogant, who could suffer without becoming bitter. That is who the chosen ones are. If you are chosen, you have always felt different. Even as a child, you sensed things others ignored. You questioned what others accepted. You felt deeply, thought deeply, and carried emotions you couldn't explain. You often felt older than your age. That wasn't imagination. That was spiritual sensitivity forming early. Jesus did not explain everything to everyone. He spoke in parables for a reason. When the disciples asked him why, he made it clear. Some people hear words, but they do not perceive truth. Some see actions, but they do not understand meaning. But to the chosen, he explained things privately, not because others were inferior, but because others were not ready. And here is something you need to hear clearly. Being chosen does not make life easier. It makes it more precise. Every mistake feels heavier. Every distraction drains you faster. Every lie feels louder in your spirit. That is because you are built for alignment, not chaos. When you are out of alignment, your soul protests. Many chosen ones grow up feeling isolated. Even when surrounded by people, they feel unseen. You may have been labeled quiet, intense, emotional, or strange. Some of you were misunderstood in church, misunderstood in family, misunderstood by friends. That misunderstanding was not punishment. It was protection. God was teaching you early not to rely on external validation. Jesus often withdrew from crowds, not because he hated people, but because clarity requires stillness. Chosen ones need solitude more than others. Not isolation, but intentional withdrawal. This is where many of you feel confused. You think something is wrong because you need space. But Jesus himself needed it. Solitude is not weakness, it is calibration. Let me say this with authority. If noise drains you, if shallow conversations exhaust you, if false smiles disturb your peace, that is not arrogance. That is discernment developing. You are not built to live on the surface. You are built to operate from depth. Chosen ones carry an internal moral compass that cannot be silenced. You cannot pretend for long. You cannot live a double life without consequences. Your conscience speaks loudly. When you ignore it, your mind becomes restless. Sleep becomes difficult. Peace feels distant. That is not anxiety. That is your spirit calling you back to truth. Jesus trusted the chosen with responsibility. He sent them out. He corrected them openly. He expected growth from them. He did not lower the standard to make them comfortable. If you are chosen, God holds you to a higher level of accountability. That is why excuses never satisfy you. Deep down, you know when you are capable of more. You may have noticed that you attract both admiration and resistance. Some people feel drawn to you without knowing why. Others feel uncomfortable around you for no clear reason. This is not about personality. It is about presence. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply reveals it. And revelation makes some people uneasy. Chosen ones are not meant to dominate others. They are meant to stabilize environments. When you walk into a room, things shift subtly. Conversations change. Tension either rises or settles. You may not even speak, yet people react. That is influence, not performance. Jesus taught the chosen to lead through example, not force. He taught authority without aggression, calm without passivity, strength without noise. If you have ever felt frustrated watching loud, shallow voices receive attention while depth goes unnoticed, understand this. God does not measure impact by volume. He measures it by transformation. You were never meant to convince everyone. You are meant to be recognized by those who can see. Chosen ones find each other through resonance, not explanation. When truth speaks, the prepared heart responds. Many of you have gone through periods of intense mental pressure, overthinking, questioning your purpose, feeling like you are behind in life. Let me correct that thought gently but firmly. You are not behind. You are being prepared. While others rush into roles they cannot sustain, you are being shaped internally. Jesus spent 30 years preparing and 3 years demonstrating. The world sees delay. God sees foundation. Chosen ones are built from the inside out. You may also carry compassion that feels heavy. You feel other people's emotions. You sense when something is wrong even before words are spoken. This is not weakness, it is responsibility. But hear this carefully. Compassion without boundaries leads to exhaustion. Even Jesus withdrew from those who refused truth. Being chosen does not mean saving everyone. It means staying obedient. You are not responsible for outcomes. You are responsible for alignment. Let me bring calm to your mind now. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to rush. You do not need to fight for visibility. When the time is right, your clarity will speak louder than effort ever could. Jesus did not chase recognition. Recognition followed obedience. So if you have felt tired, misunderstood, or pressured lately, breathe. You are not failing. You are being refined. What feels like heaviness is often depth expanding. What feels like silence is often instruction. You are chosen not because you are perfect, but because you are teachable. Not because you are fearless, but because you are willing to walk forward even when fear is present. And most importantly, not because you seek power, but because you can be trusted with truth. Hold that identity gently but firmly. Let it settle your thoughts. Let it calm your nervous system. You are exactly where you need to be. And what comes next will make even more sense. What Archons are and why most people cannot see them. Chosen one, now we move into territory that requires calm, not fear. Awareness, not imagination. I want you relaxed as you listen to this, because tension clouds perception. Jesus never taught his followers to panic about darkness. He taught them to understand it. Archons are not what movies portray. They are not monsters chasing people in the night. They are systems of influence. They operate through thought patterns, emotional manipulation, false beliefs, and distorted perceptions. Their power is not physical. It is psychological and spiritual, and that is why most people never see them. An Archon does not announce itself. It whispers. It blends in. It hides behind habits, social norms, unchallenged traditions, and internal narratives that keep people distracted from truth. Archons thrive where awareness is absent. They gain influence where consciousness sleeps. Most people are constantly stimulated. Noise, screens, opinions, fear-based news, endless comparison. When the mind is overstimulated, it cannot observe itself. And when a person cannot observe their own thoughts, they become easily guided by forces they do not recognize. This is why Jesus repeatedly spoke about watching, staying awake, being sober-minded. He was not speaking about physical sleep. He was speaking about mental and spiritual awareness. Archons influence through repetition. A lie repeated long enough begins to feel like truth. A fear entertained long enough becomes identity. A limitation accepted long enough becomes belief. And once belief is formed, behavior follows naturally without resistance. Now, listen carefully. This does not mean every negative thought is an archon. That kind of thinking leads to paranoia, not wisdom. Jesus never encouraged obsession. He encouraged clarity. The chosen ones are not meant to see enemies everywhere. They are meant to recognize patterns calmly. Most people cannot see archonic influence because they are emotionally attached to their own thinking. They believe every thought they have is their own. They defend their emotional reactions. They justify their triggers. And anything that challenges their inner narrative feels like an attack. Chosen ones are different. You have the ability to step back from your thoughts. You question why you feel the way you feel. You sense when something is off, even if you can't explain it yet. That pause, that moment of internal observation, is where perception begins. Archons do not control through force. They control through agreement. The moment a person agrees with fear, shame, or hopelessness, influence is established. This is why Jesus emphasized truth. Truth breaks agreement, not arguments, not resistance. Truth. Many of you have noticed patterns in your life where confusion appears right before growth. Doubt intensifies right before clarity. Distractions multiply right before breakthrough. That is not coincidence. That is influence attempting to delay alignment. But here is the good news. Archons are limited. They cannot create. They can only distort. They cannot touch what is consciously observed. Awareness collapses their influence. That is why chosen ones are targeted mentally, not physically. Most people live reactively. Something happens, they react emotionally. Someone speaks. They absorb it without filter. A thought appears. They identify with it instantly. There is no pause, no observation, no discernment. Chosen ones are being trained to pause. Jesus modeled this constantly. When confronted, he did not react impulsively. When accused, he responded with clarity or silence. When tempted, he recognized the pattern immediately. He did not negotiate with distortion. Let me say something that may settle your mind. If you are becoming more aware, you may temporarily feel more mental pressure. That does not mean darkness is winning. It means your perception is sharpening. When the eyes adjust to light, there is discomfort before clarity. Archons lose influence when exposed. They rely on unconsciousness. That is why they prefer busy minds and emotionally reactive people. Stillness is their weakness. Clarity is their undoing. Many chosen ones experience moments where they suddenly see through a situation, a person, or even a belief they once held. And when that happens, there is no anger, just understanding. That is spiritual sight activating. You are not meant to fight archons. You are meant to outgrow them. A mature mind is inaccessible to manipulation. A grounded spirit cannot be rushed. A person who knows who they are cannot be easily redirected. This is why Jesus emphasized foundation. Build on rock, not sand. Rock is truth. Sand is emotional impulse. Archons thrive in instability. They starve in consistency. Let me bring this into a therapeutic truth for you. If you have felt mentally exhausted in the past, it may not be because you are weak. It may be because you are carrying awareness in environments that discouraged it. Being awake in a sleeping world is tiring, but rest does not come from ignorance. It comes from alignment. You are learning not just to see, but to remain calm while seeing. That is the mark of maturity. That is why most people cannot perceive these influences. They are too emotionally entangled to observe clearly. Chosen ones are not superior. They are responsible. Responsibility requires awareness. Awareness requires discipline, and discipline requires patience. So breathe. You are not under attack. You are becoming clearer. And clarity is the beginning of authority. What Jesus taught you was not fear of darkness, but mastery of perception. And once you see clearly, influence loses its grip naturally. Now that you understand what Archons are and why most people cannot see them, the next step is even more important: how Jesus trained perception itself. And that will bring even more peace to your mind. Jesus' hidden teachings on spiritual perception. Chosen one, this is where many people misunderstand Jesus. They read his words quickly, devotionally, emotionally, but not perceptively. Jesus was not only a savior, he was a master teacher of awareness, and he knew exactly who was ready to hear what. When Jesus said, "He who has eyes to see, let him see," he was not speaking poetically, he was speaking diagnostically. He was identifying a capacity that exists in some and remains dormant in others. Spiritual perception is not imagination, it is trained clarity. Jesus constantly separated seeing from believing. Many believed emotionally, few perceived deeply. Crowds followed him for miracles. Chosen ones stayed for understanding. He taught in layers. The surface layer was moral, the deeper layer was perceptual. Parables were not meant to confuse, they were meant to filter. Only those willing to reflect, question, and sit with meaning could access the deeper truth. This is important for your peace. Jesus never forced perception. He invited it. He allowed people to remain blind if they chose comfort over truth. Awareness cannot be forced. It must be chosen. One of the greatest misconceptions is that spiritual sight means seeing supernatural visuals. That is not what Jesus emphasized. He emphasized discernment, the ability to recognize truth in real time, to see intention behind words, to sense alignment or distortion beneath behavior. Notice how Jesus responded to situations. He did not react emotionally. He perceived motive. When religious leaders spoke, he heard fear. When crowds demanded signs, he saw dependency. When disciples argued, he identified pride, not offense. That level of perception does not come from emotion. It comes from stillness. Jesus often withdrew to pray, not to escape people, but to recalibrate perception. Prayer, as Jesus practiced it, was alignment. It was grounding. It was returning the mind to truth. Let me say this clearly. Spiritual perception is calm. If something produces panic, confusion, or obsession, it is not from God. Jesus never activated fear to teach truth. Even when confronting darkness, he was composed. Chosen ones sometimes mistake emotional intensity for spiritual depth. They think feeling overwhelmed means something profound is happening. But Jesus taught that peace is the indicator of alignment. Truth settles the mind. Lies agitate it. This is where archonic influence tries to interfere, by making people equate anxiety with awareness. But awareness brings clarity, not chaos. Jesus trained perception through questions. Who do you say that I am? He wasn't asking for information. He was revealing perception. Some answered from rumor. Others answered from recognition. Perception is recognition without explanation. You have experienced this. Moments where you just know. No evidence. No logic chain. Just clarity. That is not guessing. That is perception functioning properly. But perception must be protected. This is why Jesus warned about distractions, hypocrisy, and double-mindedness. A divided mind cannot see clearly. When you live to please others, perception weakens. When you fear rejection, discernment dulls. Jesus also taught timing. He did not reveal everything at once. He said, "You cannot bear it now." That is important. Just because you are chosen does not mean you are meant to see everything immediately. Maturity includes restraint. Some of you feel frustrated because you sense more than you can articulate. You feel truths forming but not yet fully defined. That is not failure. That is incubation. Jesus modeled silence as perception. Sometimes the most accurate response is no response. Silence is not avoidance. It is mastery. Archons rely on reaction. They provoke. They rush. They demand immediate emotional response. Jesus never allowed his awareness to be hijacked by urgency. When tempted in the wilderness, he did not panic. He did not debate. He identified distortion and responded with truth, calmly, precisely. Let this bring therapy to your mind. You do not need to respond to everything you perceive. Seeing does not require engagement. Observation itself is power. Jesus also taught that perception increases responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. Awareness is not for superiority, it is for service, for guidance, for protection of truth. Chosen ones often feel burdened by what they see. You notice injustice, manipulation, hypocrisy, and it can be heavy. But Jesus did not carry the weight alone. He stayed connected to the Father. Perception without connection leads to burnout. This is why your inner life matters. Rest is not laziness, it is maintenance. Even Jesus slept during storms. Let me ground you again. If your mind has been racing, slow it down now. Perception grows in calm soil. Anxiety chokes it. You were not taught to see archons so you could fight shadows. You were taught to walk in light so shadows lose relevance. Jesus did not obsess over darkness. He focused on alignment. Darkness fled naturally. This is the hidden teaching, not secret knowledge, not forbidden insight, but disciplined awareness anchored in truth. And as your perception matures, you will notice something beautiful. Less fear, less confusion, more peace, more certainty without arrogance. That is how you know you are seeing clearly. In the next part, we will talk about how archons specifically interact with the mind of the chosen ones, and why mental pressure is often a sign of nearing clarity, not failure. Chosen one, there is another layer Jesus taught that many overlook, and this one brings deep rest to the soul. He taught detachment without disconnection. To see clearly, you must care deeply, but you must not cling. The moment you cling emotionally, perception bends. Fear enters. Bias forms. Jesus loved people completely, yet he was never controlled by their reactions. Praise did not inflate him. Rejection did not shrink him. That emotional neutrality is not coldness. It is freedom. And freedom is required to see accurately. Many chosen ones struggle here. You care deeply. You feel strongly. And because of that, you sometimes absorb what was never meant to be carried. Jesus did not absorb emotional chaos. He observed it. He responded from truth, not from emotional pressure. This is why perception feels exhausting when boundaries are weak. Not because you are seeing too much, but because you are carrying too much. Let this settle your nervous system now. You are allowed to step back mentally. You are allowed to pause before reacting. You are allowed to observe without fixing. Jesus trusted truth to work without force. He trusted alignment more than effort. And the more you practice this calm detachment, the clearer everything becomes. Perception sharpens when the soul feels safe. And safety comes from knowing you are guided, not rushed. You are not late. You are learning to see the way Jesus taught. Calm, grounded, and unshaken. And when that foundation is set, the mind becomes the last place manipulation can survive. How archons interact with the mind of the chosen one. Now we speak about the mind, not to alarm you, but to calm you. Because once you understand how something works, fear dissolves naturally. Confusion only survives where understanding is absent. Archons do not attack chosen ones the way people imagine attacks. They do not arrive with force. They arrive with suggestion, with subtle pressure, with thoughts that sound like your own voice but feel slightly misaligned once you slow down enough to listen. This is why the mind of the chosen is the primary field of influence, not the body, not circumstances, the mind. You see, chosen ones are not easily controlled externally. You resist obvious manipulation. You question authority when it lacks truth. You cannot be easily frightened into obedience. So influence must be quieter, smarter, psychological. One of the most common entry points is doubt. Not loud doubt, not dramatic disbelief, but quiet, persistent questioning of your worth, your timing, your purpose. Thoughts like, why is this taking so long? Or, Maybe I'm not really chosen, or others seem to be moving forward while I'm stuck. These thoughts do not come to destroy you. They come to delay you, to slow momentum, to exhaust mental energy. Another method is overthinking. Chosen ones are deep thinkers by nature. You analyze, you reflect, you search for meaning. That is a gift. But when reflection turns into rumination, clarity turns into fog. Archonic influence feeds on mental loops that never resolve. You replay conversations, you revisit decisions, you imagine outcomes that never happen. And the mind becomes tired, not because you are weak, but because you are being pulled away from the present moment where perception is strongest. Jesus consistently brought people back to now. Do not worry about tomorrow. That was not moral advice. That was perceptual training. Worry fractures awareness. Presence restores it. Another tactic is emotional fatigue. Many chosen ones feel tired without obvious reason. Not physically tired, soul tired, mentally drained even after rest. This often happens when you are carrying emotional responsibility that is not yours. You feel others' pain. You sense imbalance. You try to hold things together. And slowly, quietly, your own inner space shrinks. Archonic influence thrives when chosen ones forget their boundaries. Let me be clear and gentle here. Compassion does not mean absorption. Jesus healed, taught, and loved, but he did not merge emotionally with chaos. He remained anchored. If you feel drained after certain interactions, that is information, not judgment. Information. Your perception is telling you something. Another subtle interaction is false urgency. Feeling like you must decide everything now, fix everything now, understand everything now. That pressure does not come from God. Jesus never rushed clarity. He trusted timing. Archons create urgency because urgency bypasses discernment. When you rush, you skip perception and go straight to reaction. That is where mistakes happen. Chosen ones often feel this pressure internally, not externally. A sense of falling behind, a quiet anxiety that time is running out. Let this truth calm you. Divine timing does not expire. Alignment cannot be missed. Jesus was never late, even when others thought he was. Archonic influence also works through identity confusion, making you question who you are when you are transitioning. Old labels no longer fit. New clarity hasn't fully formed yet. This in-between space feels uncomfortable, and that is where doubt whispers. But transition is not loss. It is reorganization. Many of you have outgrown old versions of yourselves, old beliefs, old roles, old environments. And when those fall away, there is a temporary emptiness. Archonic influence tries to fill that space with fear, but that space is meant for integration, not panic. Here is something deeply therapeutic for you to hear. Not every uncomfortable thought is an attack. Some discomfort is growth. The key difference is this. Growth feels challenging but grounded. Influence feels agitating and scattered. Chosen ones learn to recognize this difference over time. Jesus taught awareness through self-observation. Why are you anxious? He asked questions not to shame, but to bring consciousness to the inner state. When you observe a thought without judgment, it loses control. Archons cannot survive observation. They rely on identification. The moment you say, "This is a thought, not truth," influence weakens. This is why stillness is so powerful. In silence, you hear what does not belong. Let me settle your mind again. If you have experienced waves of doubt, mental pressure, or emotional heaviness, it does not mean you are failing. It often means you are approaching clarity. Influence resists awareness, but resistance is not power. It is exposure. You are learning to hold awareness without panic, to notice thoughts without obeying them, to feel emotions without being ruled by them. That is mastery of the mind. That is what Jesus modeled. And here is the most important truth. Archons cannot touch your core. They can influence surface noise, but they cannot access identity rooted in truth. The deeper you anchor yourself, the less they matter. You do not need to fight your mind. You need to understand it, and as understanding grows, peace returns. Naturally, gently, without effort. In the next part, I will show you how to use this God-given perception without fear, without obsession, and without losing your peace. This is where authority becomes effortless. Chosen one, let me slow this down even more for you because the mind heals when it feels understood. Many of you have judged yourselves harshly for thoughts you never invited. You wondered why, despite your faith, certain mental patterns kept returning. I want you to release that self-judgment now. Jesus never condemned people for experiencing inner struggle. He addressed what they agreed with, not what appeared. A thought passing through your mind is not sin. It is not failure. It is information. What matters is whether you sit with it, question it, or accept it as truth. Archonic influence becomes effective only when the chosen begins to identify with passing thoughts. When you say, "This is who I am," instead of, "This is something moving through me." That subtle difference changes everything. You were never meant to silence the mind by force. Suppression creates pressure. Jesus taught redirection, not repression. When a thought appeared, he responded with truth, not resistance. Calm truth dissolves distortion faster than effort ever could. Some of you feel frustrated because prayer didn't immediately remove mental noise. That does not mean prayer failed. It means prayer made you aware. Awareness is the first stage of freedom. Before clarity, there is exposure. Let me say something that may surprise you. Mental pressure often increases right before a breakthrough in understanding. Not because darkness is winning, but because awareness is expanding. Old patterns resist dissolution. That resistance feels uncomfortable, but it is temporary. Chosen ones often expect peace to feel like emotional calm at all times, but true peace is stability beneath emotion. Jesus slept during storms. The storm did not disappear. His grounding remained. Another subtle tactic of archonic influence is comparison. Looking sideways instead of inward. Measuring your journey against others. This drains perception faster than almost anything else. Comparison fragments identity. Jesus never compared paths. He focused on assignment. Your path does not need validation from someone else's progress. If you have been feeling disconnected from your joy, understand this gently. Joy is not excitement. Joy is alignment. When alignment is restored, joy returns quietly, without effort. This is why rest is spiritual work for the chosen. Mental rest is not laziness. It is recalibration. A rested mind sees clearly. An exhausted mind accepts distortion. So, tonight or whenever you hear this, allow yourself to soften. You do not need to solve everything. You do not need to understand everything. You need to stay anchored. The mind of the chosen is not a battlefield. It is a sanctuary learning to defend itself through awareness, not force. And the moment you stop fighting your thoughts and start observing them with truth, influence loses its grip. That is when authority becomes natural, calm, unshakable. Now you are ready to learn how to use this perception the way Jesus intended, without fear, without obsession, and without losing your peace. Using your God-given perception without fear. Chosen one. Now we move from understanding into application. Not action in the sense of effort, but practice in the sense of alignment. This is where many people go wrong. They discover perception and immediately try to use it aggressively. Jesus never did that. Perception was never meant to make you tense. It was meant to make you free. The moment awareness turns into obsession, peace disappears. That is your signal to slow down. Truth does not rush you. Truth grounds you. If something demands urgency, anxiety, or hyper-focus, it is not divine instruction. Jesus used perception quietly. He observed first. He listened deeply. He allowed situations to reveal themselves fully before responding. He did not interrupt unfolding truth with premature action. One of the greatest protections you have is calm presence. When you are calm, manipulation has nowhere to land. Fear opens doors, stillness closes them. Let me be practical and therapeutic here. Using perception does not mean analyzing every thought, every person, every situation. That is exhausting and unnecessary. Discernment is selective. You notice what matters and release what does not. If you try to see everything, you will burn out. Jesus did not heal everyone he encountered. He followed divine timing. He did not attend every argument. He chose alignment over involvement. This is important for chosen ones who feel guilty for stepping back. Stepping back is not abandonment. It is stewardship of your energy. Another key is grounding. Perception floats when grounding is weak. This is why routine, discipline, and embodiment matter. Sleep, rest, movement, and simplicity strengthen discernment. An exhausted body clouds perception. Jesus lived simply, not because complexity is evil, but because simplicity preserves clarity. Using perception also means trusting what you see without needing to explain it to everyone. Many chosen ones feel pressured to justify their discernment. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Jesus often said, "My time has not yet come," and left it there. Silence is not secrecy. It is maturity. Let me address fear directly. Fear comes when perception is mistaken for responsibility. You think because you see something, you must fix it. That is not true. Awareness does not equal obligation. Jesus did not carry the world alone. He stayed aligned with the Father and moved accordingly. You are not meant to carry what was never assigned to you. Another way perception is used properly is through boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow truth in and keep distortion out. If a relationship consistently drains your peace, that is perception speaking. If a habit dulls your clarity, that is perception guiding you. You don't need to demonize the person or the habit, you need to adjust proximity. Chosen ones often struggle here because they confuse kindness with availability. Jesus was kind to all but accessible to few. Let this truth settle your mind. You are allowed to protect your clarity. You are allowed to say no without explanation. You are allowed to disengage without guilt. Using perception without fear also means trusting divine timing. You do not need to force outcomes. When alignment is right, movement feels natural. Resistance fades. Many chosen ones feel stuck because they are trying to move before clarity settles. Patience is not delay. It is preparation. Jesus never chased purpose. Purpose unfolded as he remained aligned. One more thing that brings peace. Perception sharpens when gratitude is present. A grateful mind cannot be easily manipulated. Gratitude anchors you in reality, not illusion. Even Jesus gave thanks before miracles, not after. Before. That grounded him in trust. So practice gratitude not as positivity, but as presence. Let me calm you again. You do not need to be hypervigilant. You do not need to scan for darkness. You do not need to protect yourself aggressively. Light does not guard itself anxiously. It simply shines. Your perception is strongest when you are relaxed, grounded, and truthful with yourself. When fear arises, return to stillness. When confusion arises, return to truth. When pressure arises, return to rest. This is how Jesus used perception. Quietly, confidently, without strain. And when you live this way, something shifts. Influence fades. Clarity increases. Peace becomes consistent. In the next part, we will explore what happens when this clarity becomes stable, how your life transforms, and why chosen ones eventually become anchors for others without even trying. Chosen one, I want to remove one last misunderstanding that keeps many from fully resting in their perception. Seeing clearly does not mean you will never feel emotion again. It means emotion will no longer control direction. Jesus felt compassion, sorrow, even righteous anger. Yet none of these emotions dictated his identity or decisions. You are allowed to feel deeply without acting immediately. Feeling is not failure. Reacting without clarity is what drains peace. Many chosen ones believe they must remain constantly spiritually alert. That belief alone creates tension. Jesus was alert, yet rested. He was aware, yet playful with children. Awareness does not require stiffness. It requires honesty. If you ever notice yourself becoming rigid, hyper-serious, or disconnected from joy, that is your signal to soften. Truth does not harden the heart. It steadies it. Using perception also means returning to simplicity when life becomes overwhelming. When clarity feels distant, go back to basics. Breathe slowly. Speak less. Reduce noise. Eat simply. Rest intentionally. Jesus often returned to simple practices when surrounded by chaos. You don't lose perception when you rest. You refine it. Another powerful truth. You don't need constant confirmation that you are seeing correctly. Over-seeking validation weakens trust in your own discernment. Jesus trusted the Father, not public opinion. Let that free you. You do not need to be understood by everyone. You need to be aligned. When you trust your perception calmly, without forcing outcomes, you become emotionally unshakable, not because nothing affects you, but because nothing owns you. This is the posture of authority, quiet, grounded, unprovable by fear. And when you walk this way, archonic influence fades not because you fought it, but because it no longer finds agreement in you. That is mastery. That is freedom. And that is exactly how Jesus intended you to use what he gave you. The transformation that happens when you see clearly. Chosen one, this is where everything begins to make sense, not intellectually but internally. When perception becomes clear and stable, your life does not suddenly become louder or more dramatic. It becomes quieter, more ordered, more honest. And that quiet is not emptiness. It is strength. The first transformation you experience is mental relief. A deep exhale. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer pull you in every direction. You stop wrestling with your own mind. You stop replaying everything. There is space now, space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where peace lives. You begin to realize that many of your past struggles were not caused by circumstances, but by interpretation. When perception sharpens, interpretation changes. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. What once felt like delay now feels like preparation. What once felt like confusion now feels like transition. Another transformation is emotional stability. Not numbness, not coldness, but steadiness. Emotions move through you instead of controlling you. You feel deeply, but you are no longer flooded. You cry when needed. You rest when needed. You speak when aligned. Silence no longer scares you. Jesus lived this way. Fully human, fully grounded, never emotionally hijacked. As clarity grows, relationships change. Some fall away naturally. Not with drama, not with bitterness, just distance. You stop forcing connections that require you to shrink. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And strangely, you don't feel lonely. You feel lighter. At the same time, new connections appear. Not many, but real, resonant, peaceful. People who don't drain you. People who don't rush you. People who don't need you to perform. This is alignment at work. You also notice a transformation in decision-making. You no longer overanalyze everything. You sense when something is right or wrong without spiraling. Decisions feel slower but more accurate. You trust yourself more, not arrogantly, quietly. This is important. Confidence born from clarity does not announce itself. It simply moves. Another deep shift happens in your relationship with time. You stop feeling late. You stop racing invisible clocks. You stop comparing your timeline to others. You begin to trust divine timing not as an idea, but as an experience. You realize something calming. Nothing meant for you can miss you. This removes enormous pressure from the nervous system. You sleep better, you breathe deeper, your body feels safer. Many chosen ones don't realize how long they lived in survival mode until they finally exit it. Seeing clearly also transforms your sense of purpose. Purpose stops feeling like a heavy assignment and starts feeling like natural expression. You stop asking, "What should I do with my life?" and start living truthfully day by day. Purpose unfolds instead of being chased. Jesus did not obsess over destiny. He remained aligned. Destiny followed alignment. You also become less reactive to darkness. This is crucial. When you see clearly, you are no longer fascinated by deception. You are not drawn into constant spiritual battles. You don't argue endlessly. You don't feel the need to expose everything. You understand something mature. Light does not chase darkness. It renders it irrelevant. This is when others begin to feel your presence. Not because you preach, not because you dominate conversations, but because you are grounded, calm, safe. People feel regulated around you. Some are comforted, some are uncomfortable. Both reactions are information. Chosen ones who see clearly often become anchors, without trying, without planning. Others come to them for clarity, for grounding, for truth. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are not chaotic. And here is a truth that may surprise you. When clarity stabilizes, you actually care less about being seen as chosen. You don't need the label anymore. You live the fruit of it. Humility deepens. Ego softens. Jesus washed feet after revealing truth. You also forgive more easily, not because people deserve it, but because carrying resentment clouds perception. Forgiveness becomes practical, not emotional. You release what no longer serves clarity. Fear loses authority, not because it disappears completely, but because it is no longer believed blindly. You feel fear, but you don't obey it. Courage becomes quiet consistency, not heroic effort. One of the most healing transformations is this. You stop trying to save everyone. You accept your role without inflating it. You offer truth when invited. You step back when not. This preserves energy. This preserves peace. And perhaps the deepest transformation of all is trust. Trust in God. Trust in timing. Trust in your own discernment. Life feels less like a battle and more like a guided path. You realize you were never meant to struggle endlessly. You were meant to mature. Seeing clearly does not make life perfect. It makes it honest. And honesty brings peace. So if your life feels quieter now, simpler, slower, don't resist it. That is not stagnation. That is integration. You are not losing intensity. You are gaining depth. And depth is where the chosen ones finally rest. Conclusion, sealing the message. Chosen one, take a slow breath with me now. Let everything you've heard settle, not in your head, but in your body. This message did not come to excite you. It came to steady you, to remind you of who you are and how you were taught to see. You were never meant to fear what operates in the shadows. Jesus did not train you to panic. He trained you to perceive. And perception, when grounded in truth, always leads to peace. What you are awakening to now is not something new being added to you. It is something ancient being remembered. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not confused beyond repair. You are becoming clear. And clarity feels quiet at first. It feels simple. It feels like rest. If you've felt calmer listening to this, that is confirmation. Truth regulates the nervous system. Alignment soothes the mind. This is how you know you are on the right path. Remember this as you move forward. You do not need to prove your sight. You do not need to explain your discernment. You do not need to rush your becoming. Walk gently. Stay grounded. Let awareness do its work. Light does not struggle. It reveals. And now, before you go, chosen one, give a like to this video if this message resonated with your spirit. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap the bell icon and share this with another chosen one who may need this clarity right now. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned, awake, and walking calmly in the truth Jesus taught you to see. Stay grounded, stay discerning, and remember, you were taught to see so you could finally rest.